away will vary slightly compared to if you live up in the north of Jersey. So it's best to follow the timetable in your locality. Okay, the second handout is the number of rakat in each prayer. So each prayer has what we term Fard prayer and Sunnah prayer. The term Fard means it's not restricted to the prayer, okay, but it's a term that means this act is an obligatory act. Okay, so in the context of prayer, okay, the Fard prayers are those prayers which are obligatory. This means that these are the most important prayers, and these are a duty to Allah. And if one deliberately misses these prayers, then it is a sin. It is a grave sin to miss the prayers. Okay? The term Fard is not something that's restricted to the prayer. It also applies to other things in our life. For example, it is Fard to be kind to your parents. It's an obligation on you to be kind to your parents. So it's a term that applies very, very generally. The term Sunnah, okay, means it is something that is a practice of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in the context of Sunnah, there are some Sunnah which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very, very vigilant in. Okay, and shown in the table are those Sunnah prayers where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not miss these Sunnah prayers unless there was a valid reason, such as travel. So these Sunnah prayers one should be very vigilant about, okay, because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very vigilant about these Sunnah prayers. So I'm going to go through the table. Okay, so firstly the Fard prayers. Okay, so the unit of the prayer is what we term a rakat. Okay, and generally speaking, rakats tend to be offered in units of, well, actually they can be offered in units of 2, 3, or 4. The Fajr prayer, okay, has 2 rakat Fard. Okay, so these are the Fard rakats, these are the obligatory rakats. They are preceded by 2 Sunnah rakats. Okay, and these Sunnah rakats that are shown in the table are the most highly recommended Sunnah rakats. These are the ones where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, unless he was traveling, he would be very vigilant and would always offer these Sunnah prayers. Okay, so the 2 rakat before the Fajr are rakats that he would always offer even when he was traveling. There are 4 rakat Sunnah before Zuhr. There are the 4 rakat of Zuhr, and then the 2 rakat after Zuhr, which are Sunnah. The Asr prayer has 4 rakat Fard. The Maghrib prayer has 3 rakat Fard, followed by 2 rakat Sunnah. And the Isha prayer has 4 rakat Fard, followed by 2 rakat Sunnah. So altogether, within this table, you will see 12 rakat Sunnah. Okay? These 12 rakat Sunnah are considered by the majority of scholars to be very special, because there is a hadith, a saying of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he gave glad tidings of that Allah will build a house in paradise for the person who offers these 12 rakat Sunnah in a day. So if you offer these 12 rakat in a day, Allah will build you a house in paradise. If you offer these rakat a second day, Allah will build you another house in paradise, and so on. So there's a huge benefit that is associated with these 12 rakat. In addition, there are also other sunnahs where the Prophet ﷺ used to pray additional sunnah, not all of the time, and these are outlined on the handout. In addition to what I've described, there is also a prayer that is termed the witr prayer. Okay, the witr prayer is offered as an odd number of rakat. Typically, it's offered as 3, but it can be offered as 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Okay, depending on how much time one has and how much devotion one has at a particular time. The witr prayer should be offered as the last prayer of the night before dawn. Typically, people will offer the witr prayer immediately after Isha, and that's fine. But if one is planning to wake up later in the night to offer additional prayers, then it is better to offer the witr prayer after those additional prayers. The fard prayer that are shown on this table are the prayers that one offers in the masjid in congregation. And for a male, one is very much encouraged to offer as many of the fard prayers in the mosque as is practically feasible. And the reward for offering the fard prayers in the mosque is 25 to 27 times greater than praying alone. So wherever possible, one should try to pray in congregation rather than praying alone. The fard prayers and their importance cannot be underestimated. Okay? And this is because the first thing that we will be asked about on the Day of Judgment, if our iman is intact, our belief is intact, then the first thing that we'll be asked about our actions is the prayer. Okay? Even before Allah will ask us, well, did you have a good relationship with your mother? Did you have a good relationship with your father? Did you treat this person well? Did you commit sins? Did you steal? All of the other things that one might think that Allah will ask us about, these will not be the first thing Allah asks us about. The first type of thing with respect to our actions that Allah will ask us about on the Day of Judgment is our fard prayers. Were our fard prayers intact? Okay? So it is very important to offer the fard prayers on time, with devotion, with sincerity, with humility, and in the correct way.